Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the sports segment of the Boiling Point podcast. This will be bi-weekly just like the normal podcast. And so this week, the first thing we're going to be talking about is the Chargers versus the Raiders, where Philip Rivers threw for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And so he's starting to decline and he's going towards the end of his career. And so, in my opinion, the Chargers should look on and try to draft someone next year, this upcoming draft, if they can move up in the draft. They lost to the Raiders, who are now 5-4 to their 4-6, and with their current roster, they should be a playoff contender, but they're doing worse this season than they were last season. So they should move on from Philip Rivers because he's now playing like a very mediocre quarterback. Melvin Gordon had a good game with over 100 yards rushing and almost 5 yards per carry. Today, the Jets beat the Giants 34-27. The Jets now, it looks like Adam Gase was kind of mad from last week after losing to the Dolphins, so he came back with a bit of vengeance. And Sam Darnold threw for 230 yards and 1 touchdown. He had a decent game, but he looked kind of rusty because he regressed from last season because of the poor coaching staff. And Daniel Jones had a decent game with 308 yards and 4 touchdowns, but didn't manage to get the win. The Jets looked really nice on defense for the most part, just basically Jamal Adams with his fumble return for a touchdown. And so that should improve the draft stock of the Miami Dolphins, who are looking to get a top 3 pick. And winning last week was really detrimental to that. But now that the Jets beat the Giants, which they weren't expected to win another game this season, that's looking good. And the Falcons had a huge upset against the Saints today, 26-9, where Matt Ryan had an okay game, and the Falcons really just outplayed the Saints. And now they push up to 2-7, and the Falcons had a good game, and their head coach Dan Quinn has now officially given the defensive play calling to their linebackers coach, since clearly he's a very bad coach and he's realized that. He's now handing over the defensive play calling to the linebackers coach. And now that they're 2-7, that also helps out the Dolphins with their draft stock, because before now the Falcons had the same record as them. And so now that should improve them from getting a top 3 pick. The Chiefs lost to the Titans in another huge upset. The Chiefs kicker missed field goal towards the end of the game. Derrick Henry had a pretty big game, 23 carries for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, around 8 yards per carry. Ryan Tannehill had a decent game, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, throwing for the game winner towards the end of the game. And Patrick Mahomes had a huge game today, 440 yards and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions, 36 completions for 50 attempts. Also, Damian Williams had a good game, 19 carries, 77 yards, and so Tyreek Hill, 11 carries for 157 yards and a touchdown. Also, Travis Kelce had a good game. So the Chiefs overall played really well, at least their offense did, but the Titans just managed to pull it out the bag, scoring 35 on them. And Patrick Mahomes really didn't deserve to lose because he had a basically perfect game, but the Chiefs defense is going to have to improve if they want to go further in the playoffs, because ultimately that's what lost them the playoff last year against the Patriots. The Ravens played the Bengals today, and not surprisingly, won 49-13. Bengals now moving on to 0-9 for the season. Right now, probably towards the end of the season, we're going to end up getting the first pick in the draft, either picking Joe Burrow or Tua. Lamar Jackson had a good game, 220 yards for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 7 carries, had 65 yards rushing and a touchdown. He had a really good game, showing why he was arguably the best quarterback in his draft class. The Bengals, on the other hand, Ryan Finley had a whatever game. Very mediocre quarterback. Joe Mixon had an alright game, 30 carries for 114 yards, but only averaged 3.8 yards per carry. So the Bengals are most likely going to go 0-16 and draft Joe Burrow first pick. The Bills lost to the Browns 16-19. Josh Allen had a okay game, and the Bills defense really let up 19 points against Baker Mayfield, which is pretty surprising because he's been playing awful this season. Nick Chubb had a good game with almost 6 yards per carry. Jarvis Landry had a good game, almost 100 yards with 9 receptions and a touchdown. So the Browns, they're still not good. They're 3-6. They're probably gonna end up maybe like 5-11 at the end of the season because their coaching staff is very poor and aren't utilizing their players correctly. And Baker Mayfield, as even though he's been playing very bad, with a good coaching staff, they could easily have gone like 10-6 this season if they just had the proper coaching staff. But the Browns are the Browns, and they're never gonna actually succeed this decade. The Cardinals lost to the Buccaneers 30-27. Now going down to 3-6-1. Kyler Murray had a good game, 320 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's doing pretty good his rookie season, but it might take a bit more for him to succeed in the NFL as a very short quarterback. Christian Kirk had 140 yards off 6 receptions and 3 touchdowns. He had a very good game. And the Buccaneers, James Winston had a very mediocre game. He threw for 306 yards and a touchdown, but turned the ball over twice with 2 interceptions. And Mike Evans had a decent game with 80 yards off 4 receptions. The Bears beat the Lions 20-13. Now the Bears moving up to 4-5 on the season. They should try this draft to move up or maybe next year to get a quarterback and move on from Mitch Trubisky as quick as possible, because Trubisky is not it, and he will not succeed in the long term in the NFL. His career is going to end up very bad because he's a very bad quarterback, and he plays as if he's a rookie, making rookie mistakes. But even though he's in his third year, the Bears really are only 4-5 because of their defense, and Matt Nagy's play calling also needs to change, because he's relying too much on his passing game. Because the past few games, he's ran the ball maybe only 15 times in total, when he needs to run the ball more, especially when his quarterback sucks. And now the Lions fall to 3-5-1. They're going to end up having another mediocre season, just like they always do. And that's all right now for football. When it comes to basketball, most recent game was Friday night. He played the Lakers. They lost 90-85, which was pretty disappointing as a Heat fan, but as I expected it because they were coming off a back-to-back. But it was a really winnable game, but the Heat shot 17% from the 3, which was very disappointing watching how bad we were playing. But it was a very winnable game, and honestly, I'll take the fact that we held the Lakers to 95 points. Dion Waiters is in the controversy because he ate edibles. He ate some gummy bears. I think it was on a plane, and then he had a seizure, and it's this whole big thing, and there's not much information on it, and it's just come out that a teammate gave him some of the edibles, and he doesn't want to say who it is because he knows he doesn't want to be a snitch. And so now that he have another excuse to suspend him for even longer, and it's going to be tough seeing what's going to happen with Dion Waiters because he basically just stole the Heat's money and now is doing whatever he wants with it. And he definitely does not deserve to have a roster spot. And so we'll see what happens with him moving on. Jimmy Butler's been playing pretty well. He's really been improving the Heat, how they've been playing. He's really been a leader and proved everyone wrong who said he was a locker room cancer. He's been proving all those people wrong, because all his teammates, you could tell that they're happy around him, they're improving around him, and he really is a leader. Also, Kelly Olynyk, who had an awful game against the Lakers, I looked further into it, and it turns out he's shooting 34% for the season, scoring 7 points a game on 20 minutes per game. He is playing so bad, and for some reason, Eric Spoelstra keeps on giving him minutes only because he could shoot threes, which he's okay at. He had a good game against the Bucks and all, but for the season, shooting 35% from the field, only scoring 7 points per game is awful, and Spoelstra should stop giving him as much minutes, because I'd rather have Chris Silva, an undrafted rookie on a two-way contract. I'd rather have him on the floor than have Kelly Olynyk and sacrifice a three-point shooting, because Kelly Olynyk not only has he been doing poorly on offense, but he's also awful at defense, so it's not really helping with what he's doing. And yesterday, the Rockets beat the Bulls with Harden dropping 40 points. He's been playing this season not very well, shooting very below average on he was shooting with bad efficiency, but he might come back this season, maybe shooting 45% from the field. We'll see what happens with him. The Nuggets beat the Timberwolves off a game winner from Nikola Jokic. He had a really nice game winner. D'Lo dropped 50 points against the Thunder, and they still managed to lose. He's looking really good this season. And what should happen with him is he might get traded to. He will probably get traded to another team. Might get traded to the Heat for Justice Winslow in a first round pick, which I wouldn't be mad at. Because Winslow right now, he's a good defender and a good playmaker. But D'Lo, he's 23, and he's dropping 50 points in a game. And he just looks really promising for the future. The Blazers lost to the Nets by 4 points, and Lillard dropped over 50 points. I believe he dropped 60 points, and he still managed to lose. The Blazers aren't looking that good this season, which is surprising after they made it to the Western Conference Finals last season and beat out the Nuggets in the semifinals in 7 games. So they might bounce back, they might not. It'll be interesting to see how the West turns out and who will be in the top 8 and make the playoffs. And right now the East is wide open for any 4 teams to make it. Either the Celtics, the Sixers, the Bucks, or the Heat. They're all contenders to be the first seed in the East. Right now the Celtics were looking amazing, and then Gordon Hayward got injured, and he might be out for a couple months now, which sucks because he was doing pretty well, and it looked like he was coming back after having it looked like he was coming back to have an all-star season after he broke his leg. It took some time for him to come back from that. And the Bucks, since they lost Malcolm Brogdon, I don't think they'll be the first seed. I think they're gonna be worse this season. And for me, the only teams that could actually come out of the East are either the Sixers or the Heat. I don't think the Celtics have enough firepower to come out of the East compared to what the Sixers and the Heat have. I think they're just better teams. And so the Sixers with Embiid and Simmons, what they need to do to come out of the East is Embiid needs to stay healthy and get out of fights and be well disciplined. And Ben Simmons might need to, throughout the season, develop some sort of jump shot, because in the playoffs, in a 7-game series, teams are gonna game plan around it, and since they know he can't shoot, they're not gonna guard him off the ball. So off the ball, he's rendered useless, and so that could be a huge reason as to why, let's say, if the Heat play them in the playoffs, that's one reason the Heat could win, because he'll be useless off the ball, and so the Heat could take advantage of that and end up winning. So the Sixers and the Heat are looking like favorites to come out of the East. And so that'll do it for this week's sports segment of the Boiling Point podcast. I hope you've all enjoyed. If you have any questions or recommendations on how to improve, please leave them in the comment section. If you think this was awful, then leave a dislike. If you liked it, leave a like. We'll be looking to improve every single week to try to make it as best as possible for the viewers. And I hope you have a great day.